Greetings, everybody. Dr. Jeff Riggenbaugh back here with you on another Tips Tuesday, where I bring you a tip for dealing with difficult people in your life. This free social media series is brought to you from my new book and coaching program, Disarming High Conflict Personalities, dealing with the 8 most difficult types of people in your life before they burn you out. Hope you enjoyed last week's installment on the victim and identifying 3 red flags of the victim and trying to sort of catch them a little bit sooner so you can deal with them in a more strategic way. Today, we're going to pick up where we left off and then talk about 3 specific tips that you can use for dealing with them strategically in a different way than you have been in the past. If you want the entire top 10 tip list, kind of a tongue twister there. Top 10 tips for dealing with the victims in your life or organization. Go ahead and click on the link below. Get the full top 10 tip sheet. If you click on that, you'll also get on my email list where you will get a weekly, okay, not a daily barrage of emails, but a weekly tip, tool, or tidbit for dealing with difficult people in your organization or your personal life. So go ahead and pick that up if you think that would be beneficial to you. Today, we're going to pick it up and we're going to give you 3 tips off of that tip sheet for dealing with victims, dealing with people that have that victim mentality in your life. If you didn't catch the last video, we talked about that we're not just really dealing with people who have been victimized. A lot of people have been through traumatic experiences or have been legitimately victimized in their life. But here we're talking about those chronic complainers and whiners and people that maintain that victim mentality over time. So it's just become a part of their personality and it's causing problems in relationships, in their work life, in whatever setting in life. Probably multiple settings in life, but whatever setting that you may be dealing with them in. So tip number 1 for dealing with victims is sometimes we can just ignore it. Okay, now sometimes ignoring will just cause them to escalate the behavior. And so we need to have the awareness to be able to observe if that's the case and respond differently. But sometimes, again, we have a continuum of these traits with anybody. Okay, so depending upon the degree of this that they have in their personality, it may not work. But for a number of these folks, if they're always coming in with a limp or a cast on their arm or something to try to sort of get you to elicit you to feel sorry for them. Again, we talked about this previously, but sometimes you really break an arm. I actually had 2 rotator cuff surgeries. Okay, so people have legitimate stuff happen to them. Okay, but again, it's a little review here for the red flags. Are they bringing attention to it? Do they want to use it in some way to get you to feel sorry for them or to get special positioning or special treatment or whatever? Then's when we're really looking at this being a part of their personality. So tip number 1, some of these folks, you can just ignore it. And if it doesn't work, then I may stop limping if I don't get from you what I want to get from you, what my actual agenda is for presenting in that way, or taking a minor injury of some kind and blowing it out of proportion for my purposes. So tip number 1, sometimes we can just ignore it. Tip number 2, validate pain and then redirect. Validate pain and then redirect. So with the drama mama, we talked about validating their sort of need for attention and then redirecting, or validating their their likability and their entertainment value and their humor and how much we enjoyed being around them just for the fun of it, and then redirecting. With this group, it's not about being life of the party. It's about pain and then pointing out pain and problems. So how much pain they're personally in, how much of a problem, some sort of policy or something in the organization is presenting. And so validate that and then redirect, then move on. And so it may look like, so-and-so, I know you've been, I hear you telling me what you've been through. I can't even imagine. I've never been through anything anywhere close to that. I can't even imagine what kind of pain, you must have gone through and are probably still going through because of that. And we really need to accomplish this today. How can I help you make sure we do that? So validate that there is value in it. A lot of companies will just try to sweep stuff underneath the rug all the time. And so, hey, I really appreciate it that you go out of your way to point these problems out. And point out how this hurt you or hurt somebody else on the team. A lot of people just like to sweep this stuff under the rug and pretend like things are okay when they're not. And so we need more people like you who are willing to identify that this is a problem. And so I appreciate it. And now what we need to do is ABC. And so validate the pain, validate the value in them pointing out the problem, them pointing out the struggle, whatever it is, recognizing there are weaknesses of other people is that they don't want to focus on it enough, but then state that you have to move on. And that really sort of piggybacks into tip number 3, which is helping them shift from problem focus to solution focused. Because if you let them, these people inherently, with the way they are trained to think at this point in life, okay, they will harp on the problem all day long. You can have an hour-long meeting and they will talk for 60 minutes of 60 minutes on the problem. So hear them out. Notice the problem, validate the problem, recognize where it has merit, but then we have to shift them from problem-solving language to solution-focused language. From problem-focused language to solution-focused language. And so, I hear you. All of this is definitely a problem. I'm going to address what I can immediately. Some of this we may have to look at in the long term. I hear you. I agree with some of this. I hear the problem. What do you propose? That's a simple question. What's your proposal? What do you propose? What do you recommend we do? What, in your opinion, how should we move forward? And so using that forward-moving language to help them shift from problem to solution. So at some point, the message after you've heard them out, and they may still view you as insensitive and, maintain that victim mentality. And depending upon the degree that this is ingrained in their personality, they likely will for a while. But we need to be okay with that. We need to give it our best, most sincere effort to hear them out, recognize the validity in what they're pointing out, recognizing the pain, but then at some point, communicate the message that it's not okay to just keep going on and on complaining about it. We need to shift to what can we do about it, and how can you help us move forward in a more proactive way so that this doesn't happen to people in the future like it did to you or others in the past. Now, a lot of D's in leadership don't have the patience to spend time validating pain, but it really is important. It's incumbent upon any of us that have some D in us to really push ourselves. Tolerate more of that than is natural for us to do. Validate that. And then at some point, yes, send the message. We got to move forward here. Absolutely invaluable. I mean, this can just crush the culture of an organization. This, more than just about anything, these types of employees can lead to poor employee retention, can kill your morale, and can ultimately cost you long-term in the bottom. In terms of your bottom line. I mean, I've seen manager after manager spend all kinds of time trying to appease and listening and going on and on and on. Or on the other end of the spectrum, like I mentioned, just not even giving any credence to it and moving on, dismissing them prematurely. And, well, then you've lost your ally and they're going to go complain to every other member on the team that not only did such and such happen to them, but they tried to tell you, and here's how you responded. Look what a big, mean bully you are. And so this, maybe not more so, but at least as much, I'll put it that way, as several of the other issues that I've seen in workplaces, really contributes to that low morale, high turnover rates, these kinds of things that just give us headaches and ultimately hurt our bottom line. So if you've got a victim or 2 or 3 or any other type of difficult person in your organization, I'd love to come in and do some work with your team. I'd love to come in and work with you, working with them, helping them communicate, helping you communicate more effectively with these types of difficult people so that you can get the most out of what you want to get and that you can ultimately meet the goals that you have. Hope this tips installment was helpful for you, these 3 tips for dealing with victims, shoot me an email, difficultpeople@jeffriggenbod.com. I'd love to start the conversation about speaking at your conference, training your team, or working with you individually. Hope everybody has a great week, and I will see you on the next Tips Tuesday, where we're going to talk about the overanalyzer. Have a great week.